Linfield to a 3-0 win over Newry Town, so it's Portadown who eat.
Over 5 minutes to leave his cruciate ligament damage and the Glenavon defence well behind him as he burst through to beat Paul Rice with the most clinical of finishes. And Paul McKnight almost made it too, only to see his shot well saved. It took Glenavon some time to get going, John Devine's header a rare early chance. And Mark McCann's effort looked goal-bound until it was beaten away by Alan Manus. But in the second half, Larmour was frustrated by another save from Paul Rice. But 12 minutes into that half, Linfield were given another chance to score. A cross from the right saw Glenavon's challenge punished with a penalty. Up stepped Glenn Ferguson, but Rice went the right way to save the kick. Glenavon's reprieve didn't last long. Within a few minutes, Paul McKnight was brought down by Glenavon skipper Pete Beattie. While the Lurgan men were sorting their defence, McKnight's quick free kick set up Larmour, and he gratefully claimed the second of the evening. The contest was over, but the game had one final twist, as Linfield keeper Alan Manus took a very heavy blow in the thigh in a collision with Gerard McMahon. Striker Glenn Ferguson was the surprise choice to replace him, and although he wasn't put under any real pressure, he did enough to maintain the clean sheet. Manus, though, is a real injury doubt for Saturday's game with Omagh.
We're very concerned about Alan. He doesn't come off the pitch easily. He took a very heavy blow, and as I say, he's in quite some pain. We don't know what's going to happen. Glenn Ferguson brilliantly winning the goals for us, but we are concerned about Big Alan, and obviously the next 48 hours will tell a tale.
We had a lot of
for Linfield this season, and the number 3 came close to scoring against Ards last night. But in his keenness to get down the wing, he slipped and fell. A harmless looking incident, but it was enough to dislocate his shoulder and ensure that he'll spend a couple of months at least on the sidelines. The night had begun well for Linfield with a goal in the 4th minute. Justin McBride wasn't the biggest man on the pitch, but he was head and shoulders above the rest as he hammered in Stuart King's cross. And the Blues started the second half in similar style when midfielder Stephen Shaw ran onto a Ferguson through ball and beat Ards' late replacement keeper Steve Robertson with a wonderful chip. Former Shannon made the save to ensure the 2-0 victory.
See a Reds fan walking up the Shankle Road, but that's what happened on Saturday. Former Cliftonville commercial manager Noel O'Brien was only too happy to answer the call when Blues fans from the Mid-Shankle Supporters Club attempted to short-circuit the system, which insists they take a circuitous route to nearby Solitude, where only season ticket holders are permitted to watch the fixture.
I think it's wrong that we can on a trip. We on a trip to Norway in August. 20 of our members travelled, and this is the closest Irish League ground to us, and we can't on our own trip to this ground. Some of our members aren't season ticket holders. All we're really here for is to watch a game of football and just want this fixture as normal as possible.
No other club has the restrictions that Linfield Football Club has on coming here, and those restrictions are absolutely ludicrous. We are delighted to welcome the Mid-Shankle Linfield Supporters Club here as our guests.
If you take a rivalry out of football, it is nothing. We need to have rivalry, but I mean, there's rivalry, and what we want to do is make sure that our rivalry with Cliftonville is a healthy one, and it's based on the football and not on sectarian chance.
And both sets of fans are determined the weekend gesture won't be a one-off.
Every development should, be taken step by step, and basically it is important to break down these barriers and, build the trust, between both clubs as well.
Intend to meet afterwards in the coming weeks to try and get the Irish League and the police and the two clubs to relax the rules and allow even say official supporters clubs to travel, run their own trip to the ground, and then they can take responsibility. Okay, we understand there has to be some restrictions, but they can open it up to supporters clubs even, and then the supporters clubs are responsible then for their members to travel.
Neither group of fans will have been happy with 2 dropped points after the game finished in a 2-2 draw, but you have to admit the feel-good factor was pretty good.
For being swept aside by the Ports after Vinnie Arkins opened the scoring. A home victory was always on the cards when Portadown went further ahead just before the interval. With Arkins again threatening at the back post, the ball was driven under keeper Greg Shannon by Dean Fitzgerald. A killer blow just before the break, and again just after. That man Arkins rising highest once again, his header clearing the goalie and crossing the line. The game ended Portadown 3, Linfield 1 as Ryan McCann pulled a goal back for the visitors. However, it would have been of little consolation as the Blues now trail the leaders by a full 15 points.
at St Julian's Road, so full marks to the teams and officials who provided such a good game for the fans. Linfield's Davy Larmour got a little bit of luck as he burst through the Omagh defence in the 15th minute, but he didn't need any luck with the finish, which put the Blues 1 up. Omagh's equaliser owed a lot to the slippery state of the pitch, as players struggled to keep their feet and occasionally their heads. This little incident ended with an Omagh free kick, but that soon turned into a penalty as the ball was headed away, but a sliding challenge behind was penalised. Up stepped Barry Patton and Omagh were level 5 minutes before the break. Things got even better for the home side 15 minutes from time as Ivan Sproul raced down the right before unleashing a perfect right foot shot past Greg Shannon. The message from the manager was clear: keep the concentration up and Omagh are in the final. But Linfield stuck to their task, and with 10 minutes left, Stuart King produced a magnificent equaliser as he fired in a wonderful dipping shot into the far corner. A replay looked on the cards, but as the clock ticked into the final minute, substitute Pat Wall latched onto a loose ball and repeated the dipping shot trick for Linfield's winner. 2 late goals to break Omagh hearts, but the holders were back in another final. The manager was quite pleased. Cliftonville shocked the Blues with a goal on 11 minutes as George McMullen got on the end of a free kick, controlled, turned and shot past Greg Shannon. But only a few minutes later, Linfield hit back from a corner. The Cliftonville defence didn't seem worried as the cross dropped at the far post, but William Murphy stole in unchallenged and knocked in the equaliser.
And a little more Morgan magic almost saw the Blues go 2 up. A second did come in the second half. Compliments of Justin McBride. Linfield still trailed the old enemy by some 13 points.
Chasing Portadown at Windsor Park, where the best of the action was reserved for the second half. Linfield created enough chances to win any normal match, but couldn't put the ball into the net. Tempers flared with 20 minutes to go when Linfield's Stephen Collier and Portadown's Richard Clark tangled. In raced Michael Collins to get involved.
Field had a score to settle against Glentoran following their 2-0 defeat in the CIS Cup final earlier this month. But in the end they had to settle for a 1-1 draw in the Boxing Day showdown. However, their performance showed great determination. After just 6 minutes, Davy Larmour put the home side ahead. Glen's goalkeeper Elliot Morris overpowered by the sheer force. Then on 10 minutes, Glentoran drew level through Darren Armour. Despite a despairing effort by Alan Manus to save, the ball sneaked under the keeper's body for the equaliser. So both teams earning themselves a point, but Glentoran now drop 2 points behind the leaders Portadown.